Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Today I have for you a simple card that could be used for a number of purposes. It was originally intended to be a bookmark card. This design is inspired by Karen Titus of Stampin' on the Back Porch. She did a couple different cards in this style. I did a video on one last week and decided to continue with part 2 this week. And I was thinking while I was putting this card together that it could be used for different purposes. You could use it as a bookmark card or a gift tag card. So since Christmas time is coming, it's December 2021, I decided to make this sweet little card using some of my favorite designer series paper. And this little tag or bookmark fits right in the pocket. This will also fit in a regular envelope for mailing. You might just have to tuck the ribbon strands behind your card, and it might require a little extra postage depending on how thick you make your card. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll teach you how to make this. It's very simple. You do not need a lot of supplies, which is a great bonus. So to start, you're going to need a cardstock base that is 5.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide. So it's just 1/4 of a sheet of cardstock. Now, if you wanted to have extra room to write, you could absolutely create this card on a half sheet of cardstock that's scored in the middle to actually create your typical card base. But we're going to use this flat, and you can get 4 of these as well as the other layers I'm going to show you in a moment, out of one sheet of cardstock, each color. So you could really you could produce multiples at a very quick rate. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so next up, you need a layer of cardstock that is 5 inches tall by 3.75 inches wide. You could use basic white for this layer. I opted for Blushing Bride. My base is Evening Evergreen, I think I forgot to mention, and I just pulled the colors out of my designer series paper, so that's where inspiration came from for that. And then finally, as far as the layers go, you will need a cardstock layer that is 4.75 inches tall by 3.5 inches wide. And we're just going to layer these together using my preferred adhesive, which is Stampin' Seal Plus. You could use liquid glue for this. You might want to just let it sit an extra minute to make sure it's not going to slip and slide around on you. I am going to use liquid glue in a moment when I show you how to create the pocket, but for this part, regular adhesive would be fine. You could even use tear and tape if you like. There is a bit of a wider base around the front, or the first layer here, and then a smaller layer smaller border on that panel. So next up, we're going to create our little pocket for your tag or your bookmark, whatever you're using. So you will need 2 squares of designer series paper that are 3.5 inches square. Now, if you have directional paper, just keep this in mind. We are going to be taking these 2 squares and cutting them on the diagonal to create the pockets. So just be mindful if you've got a paper with wording on it or with a pattern that should be more of an up and down pattern. You'll just need to eyeball how you might want to cut that to create your pockets. So very simple cutting directions. We're just going to create 2 triangles from each of these squares. So what we're going to do is cut on the diagonal from point to point. And I do that by laying my paper on the track to my paper trimmer and lining up the points. Now, one thing that could happen if I were to run my cutting blade along, I might catch the end and rip my paper. So what I'm going to do is just slide it up and start in the middle and press down my arm there and just slide up and down, and then I've got my 2 triangles created, and I didn't wreck the corners. So just keep that in mind as you're working. All right. So what we're going to do next is take 2 of the triangles in each of the pattern. So I have leftovers for another card. and I'm going to figure out what I want to do as far as laying them on my card. Which one do I want on top? And I tend to favor, I really like this cute little print, so that's going to go on top. So I'm going to grab my liquid glue, and very carefully I'm going to flip over my triangles so that I know where my glue needs to go. So it's going to go on the bottom and up the side of my triangles. So I'm using our Tombow glue, or Tombow multi-purpose glue, or green glue you might hear someone refer to it as. I love it because you have a lot of control, not that you could tell tonight, with the tip. It's got a broad tip and a fine tip, but I love that I can put the tip right on the paper and give it a gentle squeeze and get just the right amount of glue. It gets me all the way to the corner. Now you could use a tear and tape, however that's going to, I think I'm about out of glue. I ran out of one this morning and I think this one just bit the dust. Alright, we'll see if I got enough glue here. So, if you were to use tear and tape, which ours is about 1/4 of an inch, you'd lose a bit more space, so your tag might have to be a bit smaller. So just keep that in mind. That's one reason I went with the liquid glue, because I knew I would get a really fine line and I wouldn't lose a lot of space. So there's part 1 of the pocket, and here comes part 2. And basically what you're doing is lining up that bottom corner and then just matching it up to your straight edges. And then I give that a press. And I'm gonna let this sit while I create my tag, and then it'll be ready to go by the time my tag is ready. So to create my tag, there's a couple different things I could do. I could use the tailor-made tag dies that we have and use the largest one of those, or I'm going to keep it simple and use a piece of 2x4 basic white, and I have a tag topper punch, which will fit perfectly. I love that this tag topper punch has multiple measurements. It's got 2 inches wide at the widest, but I could also use this with 1.5 or 1 inch paper. It would just change how the top of the tag was punched. But I just slide my paper right in here, push down, and I have a cute little tag just like that. So you can make tags or bookmarks very simply with a tag topper punch. So to finish this off, what I'm going to do is use a photopolymer stamp. This is from our Banner Year stamp set. This is one of my favorites. It's kind of a sleeper, I think, but it covers lots of holidays, lots of occasions. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, fall, with a grateful heart, you're sweet, that could be for Valentine's Day, be merry, guess who loves you. And not only do you have the cute little words, but you also have these sweet little images at the bottom that really cover all the occasions, hence the Banner Year. But this one, I like it because the wording isn't too wide, and this be merry is the perfect width to fit on this tag. Sometimes you get a sentiment that's just a little bit too long. So I am using Real Red ink, and I'm brought over my piercing mat because this is a clear photopolymer stamp set. And if you're not familiar, it's just clear, a flexible material. We also have red rubber cling stamps, and those have a cushion built in with a foam layer between the stamp and what you would attach to your block. These do not have that, and that's why I need this extra cushion underneath. So I just tap, tap, tap. Don't sink your stamps down in your ink pad. You'll get more ink in places that you do not want it. You'll have stainage on your stamp, you'll have ink on your fingers, you'll be a mess. Trust me, I've learned over the years. So just tap, tap, tap gently, and if you're not sure if you got enough ink on, with photopolymer you can really tell easily by looking at the stamp, but just tap it a little bit more. Just don't smush it down into your ink pad. Alright, so there is my Be Merry. And to finish this tag off, I'm keeping it fairly simple. First of all, I cut a strip of Real Red cardstock, and I'm going to attach it to the bottom. I just wanted to dress up the tag a tiny bit. So this is going to go right along the bottom edge, just leaving a little bit of white space, like so. And then I have a scrap of Designer Series paper that coordinates with my card, and I'm going to take my pine tree punch and punch out a pine tree. this is going to finish off my card. I could pop this with dimensionals if I wanted to, but what I decided to do was keep it flat to not add a whole bunch of width to the card. So a little simple adhesive on here. And I have a quick and easy either gift tag or bookmark. Now I need some ribbon. So you can use as much or as little ribbon as you want. I am going to use a small amount. I didn't want anything too large for this since it could be a tag. For a bookmark, I might leave the ends a little bit longer. I'm going to thread through from the back and then pull my ribbon through here and tug gently. Don't yank it too hard or you'll tear the top off that tag and have to start over. Whoop. And then I'm just going to trim these edges a little bit. I like to angle my edges to help prevent fraying. And there is my tag. And this is cute, but I wanted to add just a little extra something. So I have some basic rhinestones. I'm just going to add a couple around the top of the tag. They're going to just peek out from above the pocket. I didn't want them down in there creating a lot of bulk. So I put one up here above the Be Merry, and then one over on this side. And this is my Take Your Pick tool. It's a great multi-purpose tool that you can use for placing your embellishments. You can use it as a piercing tool. There's also a spatula that you can use, and it has a putty tip as well. So lots of options with that tool, like so. And now my pocket is ready, and I can just tuck my tag in, and it's ready to go. So there is a quick and simple bookmark or gift tag card, but you're not tied in just to this option with a bookmark and a tag. Bear with me for just a minute. So here's another sample. This one I did leave my ribbon longer, so I was planning to use it as a bookmark card. This is one of our new stamp sets that's coming out in January of 2022 called Awesome Otters. And when I first thought about doing this card, I really wanted something with this little otter peeking out the top. I just thought it was adorable. And when I started, I used my tag. This is one of the tailor-made tags. And this is cute, but I thought this was a little plain around the top. And I thought, where would I write my message? So what I decided to do, I could write on the back of my bookmark, but I die cut one of the stitched rectangles from the set that I knew would fit in my pocket. I could write my message on the back. And then when I put this in my pocket along with the bookmark, it creates a different visual effect, and it's just really cute. So I like that, and I can just tuck these ribbon strands behind when I put the card in an envelope to give away. You could also take a sentiment or some other die-cut shapes and put them on the front of the card with dimensionals or without. Just remember, you might be adding a little more bulk to your card, and watch your postage if you're putting it in the mail. One more example here with the tag. This is one of our another new set that's coming out in January 2022, and here is an example where I did die cut a sentiment and pop that on the front of the card with dimensionals. So not a lot of dimension there, just a little bit, but to dress it up. And then here is the sweet little bookmark I created to put in the pocket. But I was mentioning you're not tied into just a tag or a bookmark, and so here is a similar example but a different use of the card. I stamped across the top of the card, and I created a small, almost postcard style card. This is, I believe, 3 inches. I started out at 3 1/4, and then I made it a little more narrow because it wouldn't quite fit. And I just stamped across the top of the card, and I can write my message below. I could continue on the back. If you liked, you could actually create a small card with a fold in the middle that would very easily fit in here. Or you can use this as a gift card holder and slip a gift card behind your little panel here. You could even slide one behind your bookmark, and it could be a gift as well. So lots of options. You're not just tied into that tag and bookmark. So I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make this version of a bookmark card. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you haven't already, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell, and that way you'll be notified whenever I post a new video, which is typically twice a week. You can also follow me over on my Facebook page, which is The Faithful Stamper. I post projects and videos there as well. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.